Hello and welcome back to another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric. I did 11 years in prison, and I talk about prison stuff. Today I'm talking about some assaults in prison. I figured I'd share some stories with you guys. Some of these I was around for. Some of these I was around for the aftermath, but interesting stories, interesting things. So like and subscribe. Thank you to my Patreon patrons. Let's get into the video. The first assault that I want to talk about took place in El Dorado. There was two guys in the kitchen. One of them was named Calvig, big white guy, and he called another dude a rat, and the other dude didn't take too kind to it because he removed a drain from the floor, basically a little circular floor drain, and he tied his belt around it, and he waited for Calvig to turn around, and he smacked him in the head hard with it. Caved in his head, basically. Broke his skull, sent bone fragments into his brain and stuff. I think they took him to the hospital via helicopter. It was that bad. Dude was really messed up. I was working in the infirmary at the time, and I saw him come through, talk to him a little bit. But he was so busted up, man, they actually had to remove chunks of his skull. He had basically a wedge-shaped piece of his head that looked like it was missing. You know, the skin was stapled shut and whatnot, but they had removed a large enough piece of his skull that you could tell it looked like his head was dented in. He seemed okay, though. I mean, he would talk to me and stuff and seemed to be doing all right. And he seemed friendly enough. I don't really know what the beef was between those two for him to call dude a rat and, you know, get into that mess. But, you know, hey, Calvig, if you see this, I hope you're doing good, man. That was a long time ago. I think that was 08, 09 or something like that. But wherever you're at, I hope you got out and you're doing good. The next assault that I'm going to talk about took place in El Dorado as well. This was another one that I wasn't actually present for, but I worked in the infirmary and I knew the dude. And it was kind of a mess. So there's a dude named Bergstresser, and he was getting into it in the gym over a soccer game of all things, from what I understand, if I remember right. And, you know, things escalated. Words were exchanged. They went into the band room, which was, you know, a room that was off of the gym. And they went into the band room, got into it, and Bergstresser got stabbed with a cymbal stand. You know, some of those things have a nice little point on the top, or even if it's just a threaded end, it's still, you know, sharp enough to do some damage, but he got run through with that cymbal stand right through his right shoulder. And I was, you know, like I said, I was working in the infirmary at the time, and he was in there for a while. And if I remember correctly, they had to do surgery on it and stuff, and they banned soccer for a while in El Dorado after that just because people got so heated about it, you know, and they didn't want any more big violent situations like that. That could have been a lot worse. You know, got him in the shoulder instead of the center of his body. Had they got him a little bit more towards the center and got it through the ribs, Bergstresser might not have lived through that. But yeah, that was another pretty wicked assault. The next one happened in Ellsworth, and I actually was present for this one. And it was really brutal. I don't know what the altercation was over, but it was in B Cell House. And there were a couple of dudes getting into it, a couple of Mexican cats. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, for anyone watching, those Hispanic gangs, they don't play, man. You don't want to mess with those dudes. You do not want to get on the bad side of those dudes because they don't play. They get very violent very quickly, and you just don't want any part of that. Anyway, I don't know what started this altercation. Whatever it got serious fast. Anyway, so it went down in B Cell House, and in B Cell House, they left the doors open most of the day. That way you could go to day room and stuff, kind of come and go as you please. However, during count time, you know, they would lock you down. But in B Cell House, there was no intercom button in the cell. You couldn't just hit the intercom button and tell the officer in control that you needed your door closed or whatever. So you couldn't really get your door closed if you wanted to go to the bathroom or something like that. a lot of guys would just hang sheets over their doors, and that was, their privacy. So these two dudes get into it. They start having words about something. I don't know what it was over, but they go in the cell, and dude stomped the other dude out. One of them he got the upper hand, knocked him to the ground, and that's always a bad thing in prison. You don't really want to end up on the ground with another dude standing over you because they're going to put the boots to you, and that's exactly what happened. Dude started stomping the guy on the ground out and kicking him and punching him and all that. Well, in the process of all of it, he stomped on dude's throat with his boots, and he crushed the guy's windpipe. And when the officers finally figured out what was going on, in the scrap, the sheet got torn down. They called the code, and they responded, and they had to pull the one dude out on a stretcher, and they actually had to put a tube in him. When they were pulling him out on the stretcher, he was gurgling, like just this weird noise. He wasn't really breathing, but you could hear gurgling or bubbling noises coming from his mouth, and they ended up like cutting a hole down here and sticking a tube in him because he wasn't able to breathe. So that was pretty brutal. And it wasn't just that he crushed his windpipe, he messed the dude up. It was bloody. It was bad. But that was another one that was, not cool. And that was probably shortly after I got to prison. So that was one of the first bad assaults that I saw. Another one that I saw personally was pretty crazy. It actually happened in the hole. A lot of people think in the hole, you're locked up. What could possibly go wrong? Well, in Lansing, in the hole, you have bars. So you can reach out of the cell, and when they run showers, they only take 4 people at a time to the showers because everybody who's going to the shower in the hole, they have to be handcuffed. And they only have so many pairs of handcuffs, so they'll take you to the showers 4 at a time. And so you're in handcuffed, and you're walking right in front of all these cells that still have people in them, and they can reach out of the bars, and they can touch you up, And there was I want to say he was a Norteño cat, and there were some Sureños down there, and, for those of you who aren't in the know, those are different Mexican gangs, and they don't like each other at all. If they start going at it, get the fuck out of the way, because some stuff is going to happen. You don't want to be a part of that. No. Anyway, so they're escorting this dude to the showers, and, you go to the showers, you're in your boxers, no shirt on, and you got your shower shoes on. Well, one of the Sureños on the run, he had broken apart a razor blade and got the blade out of it, and he had affixed a handle to it. I think it was just a toothbrush or something. But when the officers were walking dude by a cell, he reached out and he cut that dude wide open, all the way down his back on the right side, from his shoulder all the way down to his hip. He was just sliced wide open. You might not think a little disposable razor blade will do much, but it is dangerous. And some of the worst injuries that I've seen in prison were from things like that. I saw one dude, he got his face sliced open. I had to have staples put in his face, and he had a scar, from his temple all the way down past his jawline, and it was gruesome. But yeah, anyway, dude got sliced wide open on the way to showers, and just not expecting a damn thing. But it doesn't really matter where you're at. If you got beef in prison, you got to keep your head on a swivel at all times, because it doesn't really matter. The next one I'm going to tell you guys about was about a dude named Thunderbird. He was actually a really unassuming looking dude, pretty smart, kind of geeky though. He had red hair, glasses, skinny, short, very unassuming looking dude. Very polite though, very respectful, pretty easy to get along with, it seemed to me. But he got into it with a dude in the day room. He was living in the dorm and he was out in the day room and they were playing cards, playing poker, I think. And dude called Thunderbird a hoe. And that's just not something you willy-nilly call someone in prison. You don't call people punks. You don't call people bitches. You don't call them rats. You don't call them hoes. You don't disrespect people and then think that that's not going to have some sort of consequences. You just don't. You know, if you're not willing to throw down with someone or if you're not going to take off on them right there, you probably shouldn't talk shit on them. But he called Thunderbird a hoe, and Thunderbird got up and left, went back to his bunk. Later on that night, when they turned the lights down in the dorm, Thunderbird took a lock, a combination lock. He tied a belt to it and he stuck it down inside his shirt. And he went over to dude's cube and the other dude was sitting on his bunk and he said, "Hey man, I just want an apology. I want you to say you're sorry." And dude's like, "No, I said it. I mean it. I'm standing on it. I ain't saying I'm sorry for nothing." So Thunderbird said, "Okay." And he pulled that lock and belt out of his shirt. We had the button downs, but he pulled that out of his shirt and he just started going to town on dude, hitting him right in the head, cracked his skull and split him open. So the skin and stuff on his head had split and then folded over. Like he was walking to the bathroom going like this, kind of trying to smooth his scalp back onto his head, and trying to literally put himself together. He got in the bathroom. He wasn't going to tell the cops about it. They didn't get caught. So he was trying to put himself together more or less as best he could and try to avoid telling the cops that he just got beat up or he fell or whatever he was going to say, because they would have known immediately, someone got to him and got him good because he was in bad shape. He couldn't put himself together. He needed staples in his head. There was no way that no one was going to notice that. And it wasn't just that he needed staples in his head. His skull was cracked. He needed medical attention. And he was walking around dazed, messed up, leaking everywhere. They say he got split down to the white meat. They're not joking about that. You know what I mean? Like, you see someone busted open, you can see that flesh inside, and it's weird. Anyway, he was messed up. He couldn't get himself closed up, so I think he went and told the cops that he fell or something like that. Of course, they weren't buying it, and Thunderbird ended up getting picked up, and I think they tried to charge him with attempted murder. I don't think it ever stuck, though. I mean, they had some camera footage for sure. They had cameras all over the dorm, but I don't think they ever got him for that, and I don't think dude was trying to press the charges. The next one I'm going to tell you guys about was also in El Dorado, and there's this dude named Blue. Of course, that wasn't his real name, but he had his eyes tattooed, like the whites of his eyes were tattooed blue, hence the name Blue. He was kind of a stocky dude, not huge, but not small either, but you could tell he worked out. He was in the pit all the time, kind of tattooed out, short hair, chin strap beard, because that was popular in the 20-teens. And I don't know what it was about, man, but he got into it with a dude. Dude was talking shit or something. They were on their way back from chow. As soon as they left the doors of the gym, Blue picked that dude up and slammed him down face first on the concrete. Dude was all kinds of messed up, man. They had to take him to the hospital. And that's just it. I don't even think Blue kept hitting him or anything. I think he just planted him face first in the concrete. But, I mean, it's concrete. And Blue wasn't huge, but he wasn't small either, and he was pissed. And he rammed that dude's face into the concrete so hard, that dude didn't know where he was. He was leaking. Oh, man. It was a bad deal. But, I don't really like doing this sort of thing, this sort of content. This is the part of prison that I really don't like thinking about. But, you know, a few of you guys were asking for it, so I thought I'd give you some stories on this. They're kind of endless, but on the other side of it, you become so desensitized to it, and you kind of try not to think about it, because when you see something like that happen in prison, you don't talk about it. You know, you pretend you didn't see anything. That's the norm. The norm isn't, oh my God, what happened? The norm is, I didn't see a damn thing, because you're not supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Because if you see someone get stabbed, if you see someone get run through with a cymbal stand, or beat in the head until their head pops or something like that, if you're running around the compound talking about that shit, next time that could be you. So you don't really talk about it. And I don't like glorifying the shit, because I don't think it's real cool or anything. I kind of think it's fucked up personally, but whatever. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving me a like, and if you want to see more content like this, you should probably hit that subscribe button. And there are ways you can support the channel in the description. You know, I have a Patreon page, I have a PayPal link, I have all sorts of stuff, and I have merch. So if you're interested in supporting what I do, I have stuff in the description. And yeah. Anyway, this has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric. I will see you all later.
Right, they say,